The United Nations Student Alliance sort of just gets familiar with what's happening throughout the world. This year we tried to do a Middle East approach since we were hearing a lot about what's happening in Syria, what's happening in Egypt. It's not just about diplomacy, but it's also about social justice, and it's also about the environment, and all of these things come together at the United Nations. It is a lot of work because you're trying to get all of the cultures and different perspectives of each delegate from each country to come together and agree on something. And that's very hard to do because every country has their own perspectives, has their own different laws, and their own culture that they're really attached to.
Well, when I was in Harvard, I was representing Malta in the Ad Hoc Committee on Energy. And so being an American, you have a whole bunch of different beliefs or interests in energy as somebody from Malta would. Malta's a really tiny place and it's really concerned with what happens in North Africa and Southern Europe. As Malta, I had to kind of not worry about the United States so much, or not worry about the news that I was used to hearing at home as far as energy goes, and sort of just focus on what would work better for my little, super Catholic Mediterranean country.
The high school students come and they work hard, and it's different from what I remember when I was in high school. We weren't as involved with stuff like that. I mean, I've always followed things, but we never had the chance to compete like they do. And it's nice to see younger people engaged in global conversation because it's going to affect them sooner or later. It's fascinating to see how they handle these situations themselves.
Because instead of just understanding, the news or just knowing what's happening, you sort of understand how countries relate to each other, and you get a better sense of the theoretical side of history, so you learn more why things happen as opposed to just how they happened. And it prepares you really well for Model United Nations because you get to understand how countries interact, and you also get to play out those roles and how the United Nations works in itself, and you also get to participate in that as if you really were in the United Nations.
I think for chairs is the fact that you get to interact with high school students and you get to really act as a leader. I mean, everyone there is a leader in their own way because they're leading their country or acting as if they're leading their own country. But I think for chairs is they're actually leading their high school students, and I think that sort of, if they're into education, communications, whatever it may be, they get that experience to be a leader. A lot of people don't really understand how much work goes into High School Model UN, but it is a lot of work because it's only a 2-day event, but it takes more than 2 days to prepare it. And another thing would be for the high school students, I think it shows them what it's like to really be a professional. That really helps them in the future, like when they go to college, they know they have to do research, they know they have to speak up in class if they have a question or they have something to say that's really important because of what the research they have done. So these are all principles that really help them to become leaders, and I think that it's enriching for everybody in the High School Model UN.
So I would just like to tell them to not worry, be prepared, and most of all, enjoy.